What's happening, everyone? I am very excited to be back and doing a security stream. I usually don't do a lot of these days because not many people watch them, and it's hard when there's 15 people. I know there's some very fervent and loyal and awesome 15 people in the chat when I do these half the time, but it's just like it's hard to do them when I don't have like an active discussion lively and stuff going on all the time. However, since crypto number go up, and if you lose money right now, if you lose that magic internet money, it tends to be more magic internet money than you would like to lose. Then maybe we'll have some more engagement, a lot more action, people asking questions. Again, I love talking about it. I did so many security streams. Go to Go Real DeFi, look at how many security videos. I don't remember how I'm sure we'll get to it, and I'll see how many they are. But there's a ton of security. There's a bunch of privacy videos too. I love talking about it, but I don't always have a lot of people interested in it. So hopefully today we have a ton of people interested. I almost never do all caps titles. I did it for this one, whatever. Like I usually don't. I'm usually like not doing all caps titles and stuff like that. But why not? It could be important. Hopefully this stream and a lot of the other content will help people avoid losing all their money in crypto. Definitely want to avoid that, and be practical at the same sense too. This isn't, hide your money in the mattress type stuff. It isn't like, oh, make your life really hard to use crypto and go out of your way to do all this stuff. It's really a lot of simple things can really help you from getting hacked, from losing money, from just making missteps that can cost dollar bills. So we're going to it's going to be fun. We got some memes. I turned on the meme machine right before the stream about 45 minutes ago, making some memes, push some out. And we got Kong on today, and he is apparently passionate about crypto security in some point as well. Not a lot of people are, so it's awesome to see, along with all the other things. So anyways, get your question in the chat. We'll get to as many as we can. We got a ton of content to go through this stream. You will hear things and learn things that you probably will not hear or learn on any other crypto channel, a security channel, all that stuff too, and crypto security, all that stuff too. I'm pretty certain of that. So hope to give you some good content today. Again, get questions, get them in there, get to as many as we can. Without further ado, welcome back to the show for about the 15th time now. Crypto Kong, how's it going?
Welcome. No, I'm glad to be back. I liked how you were talking about the title a little bit. Because I noticed that as well. You don't really do a lot of the I don't know if it's like catchy or I don't know if clickbait.
Don't do the duck faces. Don't do the all caps. Don't do
It's pretty chill. But I think today's it's gonna be one of those days that deserve it for sure. And the title is gonna be, I think it's gonna be perfectly fitting because we always talk about like how to make money or opportunities or things like this, right? But then I think it's always talked about in crypto, but I don't know if we've ever really talked about, maybe a little bit, but like security, right? Especially when you have a bunch of funds, and as those funds start to like be worth more and more and more, like if we're going into a bull market here in 2025, like you probably want to make sure that your wallets and seed phrases and computers and systems are all like secure, right? So yeah, I think now is probably a good time to kind of talk about a lot of these things because I think we're headed right into the bull market, and now is probably not the time to run into a little bit of a security error or something like this. So definitely.
Yeah, I like the framing too. That it is true. Like we usually talk about, the way we're always interested in the ways to make money, and much less interested in the ways to avoid losing money. Both extremely important. If you're, if you're shooting for the moon, you want to get both. It doesn't matter if you make $1 million if you lose it, by something. Again, it's not even. It almost feels worse. Like again, I don't even want to channel this aura of like losing money, losing stuff, but like I would much rather like just not, coins just not appreciate as much as I thought than actually be like, oh, I did so well, and then just something stupid happens and lose it. So again, nothing's perfect. You can just do your best, but your best can also improve. You can raise your knowledge, you can raise your awareness, you can raise your ability to just do very simple things. Again, a lot of stuff we're going to talk about are extremely simple things. I've talked about before, tweeted about, Kong's probably done and talked about, with before as well. And they're things that don't take a lot of money. They don't take a lot of, some things take a little bit of money, but they don't take a lot of effort. They're just like go by these principled pieces. And, if anyone's been following the channel for a while, I have a background in security and tech. I mean, there's a lot of things that I have a very nuanced view of that a lot of people don't too. So I hope to bring that out as I have before, and just kind of show you, or really at least tell you some of the things I think are good ideas and they're interesting. And Kong's got some cool stuff, and I'm excited to actually hear some of his perspective too on a few of the different topics. So again, this it's gonna be action packed. We got a lot to get to, but I want to bring up, first of all, just to set the tone. It's a serious but also fun conversation. So people actually want to stay for more than a few minutes and ask really good questions. Hopefully people ask some good questions that I want to share. And we'll start with the memes. Why don't I start with memes? Right, Cole? So if you have some fun memes to get in here, you can feel free to post them. I'll post the link in the chat. But this one, this one reminded me yesterday. Actually, I really feel bad for people because you hear stories, man. You hear people losing money, and you're like, this sucks, because again, especially in our ecosystem, they got so far. They're in a real DeFi. They're here with again, what we believe to be one of the greatest opportunities and the greatest pump middle system ever, and then it's just like it's just taken away from one region or another. So it really sucks when that happens. However, again, our hearts go out to everyone. We hope they're able to get everything back in order. But at the same time, at the meme level, at the meme spirit of memes, this one, you didn't lose all your money, you just clicked the wrong link. Oh man, we're gonna get into links in a little bit later too, but that is, again, unfortunately true a lot, but also, just maybe this will help get the point across in a lot of ways. Like, you can figure this stuff out, just like, just a little bit of mental models around this stuff will help. And also, again, I'm gonna be harping on, everything other than Windows. Could be a MacBook, could be, Linux, could be, just an iPad. It could be, other lockdown things that are more locked down, at least than a desktop computer running Windows, for example. Yeah. No matter if you're running Windows 10 or 11, there's all kinds of, nuance about that. You don't need to buy a MacBook. You just need to dodge all the viruses on Windows. I will talk about going down the right street and the wrong street, and all the stuff there. What do you think, Kong? You don't need to buy a hardware wallet. You just need to find a deal on eBay with one made in China.
Actually, you need to buy one that's on sale on eBay.
On sale, that's used but in good condition. Again, that is the joke. That is the thing. You do not, the general advice is do not buy anything but a new one, obviously, and from hopefully in person or from directly from the supplier, like from the manufacturer, so there's not supply chain attacks and stuff like that. If you don't know what supply chain attacks are, ask the question in chat. I can go through it. But yeah, you don't want to just go skimp out and wait around for a good deal. You don't need to learn Linux. You just need to buy a few more antiviruses on Windows. Also, one of my near and dear to my heart, I hear people say, I've got McAfee. I don't even know what the latest ones are. I got Norton. I don't know, Kong. What do people use on Windows these days for antivirus?
I don't know. I don't think they're very good. I think the built-in one, if you're using Windows, is probably better than a lot of the ones people are paying for. But yeah, I don't know what people are using, but I don't think they're very effective, right? Like, I think they're supposed to catch malware that they're aware of, not kind of new things or something like kind of custom made or something like this. So
you're seeing my tune on, I mean, the ideal these days is Windows Defender has been in Windows. The Windows antivirus that's built in has been there for free since like 10 years or so ago now, since like Windows 8 or Windows, whatever before 10. So it's already there. They have a world, I know, say what you want about Microsoft and them having bugs in Windows and stuff, but they literally, they put a lot of time, resources, and energy into security. A lot of that funneled into, and again, this doesn't mean Windows is more secure. That's not the point I'm trying to make. I'm trying to say that they're making a product that gets built in, so you don't, no one needs to buy an antivirus for Windows. Like, it's kind of like a relic of the old days before Windows actually had one built in that did, any kind of good job. So it's like, and it's stacking them too. They can be. It's just not. To me, it's not a good idea. If I was, if I set someone up with a new Windows computer, and they say, "Oh, I got this free, 6 months of whatever antivirus," I'm like, I would throw it away. Like, if I buy a new computer off Best Buy, and it's got that, like bundled with this free thing, I just X. I don't even want it. Don't even put it near me. I'm not going to install it. I'm going to put it on there. I'm not going to have Windows on it. It's just not necessary, and it's already got a lot of built-in stuff. So that's the good news. You don't need to pay for it, even if it looks like a good deal, and all the marketing tactics try to get you to. And especially stacking them, it's just, it's just, I don't know. I don't get it. It's just one of those things.
I want to, one other key point, especially we're talking about with privacy, it kind of goes hand in hand with security as well with some of these antiviruses, but some of them do track the websites you're going to, and they are kind of like, they're tracking you, right? And that I think part of some of these antiviruses are that they're trying to stop you from visiting a bad website before like you even have the chance to download malware from it potentially. So yeah, if we were talking about privacy, you probably don't want some random, and I'm saying random, but some of them might not be so random, but you probably don't want some third-party antivirus corporation looking at every single thing you Google, right? Whether or not they say they have good intentions or not. Windows probably does enough spying. I don't think you need more like third-party kind of antiviruses. So
that's a great
say
point.
that as well.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great string to pull on too. It's not only can you putting security software, buying security software, not only like you paying for it, just putting it on there could be putting your computer more at risk. Like there are exploits for antiviruses and security software. There have been for years. They're just software. They're just written to do a specific thing and may not even do that very well. May not even catch, all the stuff that may actually be a threat to you and your profile that you're using on the internet, like what you're doing crypto versus just using email and stuff like that. And they could be collecting all of your data, right? Like, why wouldn't they? Is there anything stopping them from doing it? Have you read the terms of service? No, right? Like they could just be funneling all your data and oh, I got that 6 months free. Well, for those 6 months or more, they may be just collecting your data and not even really providing anything other than this Fox, the Fox in the sense of FAUX, like that fake kind of like placebo effect of, oh, but I did something. Something's on there. It's probably doing something, so I feel more safe. Too much of that in computers these days.
Yeah. I think even Richard's I think less is kind of more, right?
Yeah.
People think like you have more lines of code or something like this, you have something that's more secure, and it's probably not completely the case.
Right? Adding attack surface. A lot of it is literally adding attack surface.
Yeah. So.
And then the last one here, you don't need to turn on 2FA. You just need to add a couple more numbers to your password. So this one, 2FA, I mean, we'll get into hardware wallets and stuff a little bit later. Hardware wallets are, the way I explain it, the way I understand it is they're basically 2FA. They're basically 2FA for your crypto, for your wallet. Like they give you an extra button to press physically. So, you can't just, if malware did get on your computer, it can't just and they give you a secure place to generate your seed words. So the whole premise, the whole idea of like hardware wallets make me safe. Hardware wallets are like the panacea that they do everything that like I need one to be secure. The only thing they do, the only purpose of a hardware wallet is if your computer they use crypto on is compromised, they help you not lose your seed words and not get your money, lose your money or then be able to send it out your wallet and stuff. They do that by generating your seed words off your computer on the device, on the secure device. And there's all these attacks for extracting your seed words and stuff too that come up from time to time on that. So don't even, if you take care of the physical device, if you have it too, because who knows what new exploit will come out from that. So they stop them. They give you a secure place to generate seed words and not lose them or by someone already compromising your computer. And then they also on transactions they give you a physical button to press to make sure you are the one doing the transaction. It's not some malware that's clicking the button or someone else on your computer that doesn't have your wallet, doesn't have your hardware wallet. It is indeed you clicking the button. So that's, to me, like that's the conceptualization of hardware wallets is they're just 2FA for your crypto and they give you a secure place to generate your seed words. So it's not about passwords. It's not about doing all this. Like it's about giving yourself another, having a complex password or passphrase as it's being adopted more, like passphrase is just a really complicated long password that's made of words and characters and stuff too, instead of just, a few characters that are random or whatever. It's not about just making strong credentials, which is your username, password, whatever it is. It's about having another thing, having, I know a lot of people probably don't want to do like biometrics. Like I don't like biometrics either, like fingerprints, eyeballs, all that stuff. I avoid them, but that is another way to authenticate you as a person doing something. So something you have, something like a password, something you are, yeah, there's a bunch of different ways to look at it, but these are just ways to authenticate you. Two-factor auth, which is, it could be, again, avoid text-based stuff because there's different attacks on that. But if you use like a Google Authenticator, different secure one-time password stuff, a YubiKey is, all those different like hardware devices. Again, a hardware wallet, just a hardware device that helps you press a button instead of letting the software do all the stuff, which again, could be, your computer could be compromised. So the software, anything you can do on your computer software-wise, an attacker could do if they compromise it. So it's giving you another piece of hardware that attacker, unless the physical attacker is there and they have access to it, they do it, they go through all the stuff, they can't do the same thing. So that's all they are. They're not going to keep your crypto safe. They're just trying to it's not about keeping your crypto, I don't know how to say it. It's not like I'm going to be secure using a hardware wallet. It is, now I have 2FA on my money type of thing.
I think another thing in terms of passwords and passphrases and stuff is it's not repeating passwords, right? I think lots of people say this all the time, and it's I think a lot of people repeat the same passwords over and over again on a lot of different sites, right? Also having like long passwords. I think that I wish I had some like schematics to show you guys, but there's like research that show like that's kind of shown that having like a longer password will exponentially make it harder to crack, right? And there's lists out there where there's common passwords, and people they like, not saying they will try and target you and brute force your password, but if you have a simple password, it's probably a lot easier to crack it than something completely like 24 characters or 50 characters or something like this. Obviously it's a little bit harder to remember, a little bit less convenient, but 1000% more secure. So
yeah. So, I mean, a couple of different options on passwords. One, I would say try not to use them. And that doesn't mean having no password. It means, OAuth, the login where you can just connect your account. Again, you got to be careful which accounts you want to connect with your email and what access you give them and stuff like that. But you can literally remove the ability for someone to steal your password that you just created by using, a login that's, log in with Gmail, log in with, what Apple account, whatever else. There's no password now. They can't steal your password. They got to steal something else, or they got to, get access to your other account. So I think a lot of things are going that way. Another cool thing is some websites I've noticed, they'll be like, log in. Basically, you log in with your email address, and they'll send you a link. So there is no password. They just send you a link that you click, and that authenticates you. So again, they're not storing any password. You don't have to think of a new one. You don't have to add it to your list. Now, your basically your password is, do you have access to your email account or not? You click the link, you can log in, a one-time deal, and you do that for every single login. So that was a pretty interesting way to make a more frictionless way to be, still, good on security as far as like not using passwords. So one thing is you can just not use passwords. You can use, log in with Gmail, log in with whatever, or some websites support the email authentication. If you do use a password, like Hong said, either a really secure long one, you store it in a secure place, all that stuff, or a passphrase, which is literally, it could be, again, just reading my profile, sci-fi 555 before, no offensive advice, like you just put a bunch of words together with a bunch of numbers and characters, something just easier to remember. And by nature, that's could be really long. That could be 40 characters, but you can even remember off the top of your head if it is, something that's memorable, a phrase, and it's got some, some other characters in it too. So it doesn't need to be complex. It doesn't need to be a bunch of random stuff. It can be, but in other ways, passphrase as well. So those are two good ways to do it. And of course, if you don't use passwords at all because you've offloaded it and just the service supports it, that's another good way too.
yeah, I like the OAuth a lot, where you can I like signing in with like one-time codes or whatever, that like from the email or whatever. I think that I like to do that. And another thing is too, I think with some of those, like when you're able to log in with your Google account, I think it's I think it's more secure for the website and stuff because they're offloading, I think, the security kind of hassle to Google, right, and through your Google account. So it's not like the website itself. If you're creating a username and password, right, and that just so happens to be you use the same username and password for other sites or something like this, maybe there's a vulnerability on that specific website that gets attacked. Whereas, like, I think Google's more kind of locked down in that sense. I don't know for sure, but I would guess that Google's probably has a little bit more security practice than like your
Definitely.
average kind of e-commerce site, right?
Definitely. I mean, that's the idea. Is like, you don't need to, a lot of these, smaller companies otherwise, instead of creating their own protocol, storing passwords and doing all this stuff, you don't need to do any of that. Just go with the, what you would imagine would be world-class, engineers and infrastructure and stuff like that with Google, with Apple, with all these other ones. Again, you got to trust them that, there's other, whatever concerns you may have, like, oh, they're spying on me, or, oh, they may mess it up. It's true, but again, there's some level of risk. Like, nothing is 100%. You gotta, like, there's some, you can't use the internet without taking some risk. Some website you're gonna go to is malicious or not, or something you connect to is, it's just minimizing the risk is the way I look at it. But yeah, for sure. So just to hit this thread real quick, we kind of talked about two-factor auth. Again, prefer text-based versus SMS-based, or sorry, prefer authenticator apps and hardware stuff versus instead of using text or text SMS-based stuff. And then I'll get to that a little bit more in a second. And then stop using Windows. Again, I'm going to go through, I'll say this again. That's the first time on this stream I've talked about it, but I use the analogy of this, okay? It's not that Linux is more secure than Windows. It's not that Mac's more secure than Windows. That's not the point. You could have all these technical discussions around that. The point is, almost all viruses are made for Windows. Almost all malware and viruses are made. 99%, 90%, 95%, put whatever high number on it, okay? So if they're because they're targeting people, if you want to, a lot of bad actors out there, a lot of them are trying to get the most people possible. So they go where the most people are using that stuff. So if you want to have the most common profile that's attacked the most, what is that? Windows, Chrome, Metamask, for example, like that kind of combination. So if you don't want to have that combination and you don't want to, you want to have something different. Again, there's pros and cons. You don't want to use something that's like just insecure and buggy and nobody looked at because it's different, because they may have other stuff that could go after. But if you use the same common profile that everyone uses, you're going to be, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. Like, you're going to be in the same bucket as everyone else. When they do create that malware, you're going to be susceptible to it each time. So it's not even about the security features of Linux and Mac or Mac or iPad or whatever versus Windows, using a desktop computer Windows. It is about removing yourself from the wrong street. It's like the analogy is, I want to drive down the nice street where people wave at you, and all the stop signs don't have bullet holes, and like everyone's nice, and there's kids are walking around, and it's cool, and there's all kinds of nice stuff going on. I don't want to drive down the bad neighborhood where there's all kinds of shady stuff going on. I want to get out of there as soon as possible. If you're using Windows on the internet with common configuration, stuff like that, or just Windows in general, let's just say, you implicitly are driving down the bad neighborhood. That's like the mental model. Think about it. So if you want to drive down the nicer neighborhood, which is just stop using things where almost all the malware is written for, you have options for doing that. So it really is that simple. Just switch to something else, and you can do it over time. You don't have to throw your computer away and put Linux on it immediately, or go buy a MacBook and not use anything else. You can do it over time. You can put your email, or you can put some other app or Telegram or whatever on that new device to force yourself to use it every once in a while. You need to actually use it. And then over time, add more and more of your apps, get more and more used to it, and eventually transition away from using Windows. Again, I want to drive down the nice street. I want to drive down the dirty street and the shady street. So that's the best way I can explain it at like a high level, is like why there's so many advantages in not using Windows versus everything else. It's just you're removing yourself from all that attack surface, all those malware that's written specifically to take down your computer.
Yep. And I think another good point, if you want to use Windows, and how I look at Windows is everything on your Windows machine you should look at as temporary. Like, and again, like it's generic. I'm kind of saying this generically, like you don't have to listen or anything like this. But how I look at things is, if I have a Windows machine, everything on there is temporary. I'm not trying to store any information there. I don't care if, the hard drive blows up and I have no access to that machine or that Windows system ever again. That's kind of how I look at Windows. That's how I use Windows. Another thing is, if you're able, or if you should be able to, but if you create a second account that isn't a root user or isn't the admin kind of user on the system, and use it in that kind of second account, there will be less permissions, right? Especially if you're just doing, if you're doing crypto on Windows, and even if you have a system that's just dedicated for crypto on Windows, maybe you don't even have to change a whole lot of your set. Maybe, at the very minimum, I think you should have a second account without kind of root access, root privileges. So you could use that. And then if there is some sort of malware, there will be a harder time executing perhaps some of the commands for that malware and stuff. And then between like switching over to Linux and stuff, you don't have to throw away your hard drive, get rid of Windows, toss it into the ocean, and then buy a whole new Linux system, or buy a whole new system and put Linux on it. You can always, and I think there's plenty of documentation on this on YouTube, but you can always get a USB, get an external HDD, get an external SSD, put Linux on there, right? Plug that into like a system that you use. Ideally, you want to make sure that like it's secure, right? And you could boot into kind of a USB or external hard drive, right? So you don't have to. You're not limited to whatever operating system's on your kind of internal SSD, and it could be a lot easier to switch, right? You don't have to. And I think there's more things you could do as well, right? You can do like hard drive partitions if you wanted to, and I think there's like insecure ways and more secure ways of putting kind of Linux on your, especially if you're trying to use it for crypto and stuff. But if you're just trying to try it out, yeah, there's a lot of ways you can kind of try Linux without like changing your system at all or too much. Like you can kind of completely separate. So yeah.
Yeah, you can dual boot Linux. A lot of people used to do that back in the day. For me, I just prefer these days, just to get another computer, put it on. It could be an old laptop, whatever. Or if you're just going to buy a new machine, you buy a new machine, again, put Linux on it. If it's a Mac, iMac, MacBook, whatever, and just use it a little bit of time and get used to it. It's everything's just an operating system. I mean, it just takes there's a learning curve, but it's like everything still has a file explorer. Everything has a web browser. Everything has chat apps. It's pretty modern these days. You can print on Linux. You can, there's a lot of things that the Linux, it's like every year they say like Linux is bad for desktop users, but honestly, like Ubuntu, there's some security focused ones. You can do some that are easier. Again, chat if you have one of your recommendations or one of the differences between distributions, feel free to ask. But yeah, it just takes effort. Again, you can transition if you really want to do it. You can do it. And again, it's getting you off of that bad street. It's getting you away from the common configuration that gets hacked all the time. And that's what I want. But I brought it to here. Oh, go ahead.
I was just also going to I was just also going to say, I think this might be, I don't know if it's off topic, but just make sure you're kind of backing up your stuff and stuff as well, right? Because if your system ever does get compromised, like ideally you want to have kind of like a respawn point. So
yeah, so I'm not sure. I'm sure when we talk about recall a little bit later, that could be interesting to talk about too. But having snapshots, I know. I don't know if I would say like a lot of times backing up, you can just set it to automatically back up. Encrypted backups, by the way, like always put like a password and stuff on your backup device. There's different programs to use across, Linux, Mac, Windows and stuff that do it. But yeah, having snapshots, basically having versions of your operating system over time in case it does get compromised, then you can roll it back. If you have the previous versions of it gets compromised in December and, you still have November's image of it on your backup, which a lot of that's taken care of it automatically with a lot of backup software. And it's all, I don't even think you need to buy anything. I'm pretty sure it's all built in. There's all open source stuff with Linux. With Mac has their own built-in thing, Windows as well. you can just roll back and be like, yeah, it's like it never happened because that was before it got hacked, assuming the flaw is not there and it doesn't get re-exploited and stuff like that too. But I wanted to show here again, use AI. I cannot, how many posts I need to make about using AI? Hopefully people are giving themselves the edge that this really is, but literally just asked it, hey, YubiKey, this is a physical two-factor auth device versus authenticator app, like Google Authenticator, Okta. There's a whole bunch of different, I'm sure like Apple, I'm sure there's like every major company has one now, versus SMS, which is just plain text messages, which is more secure for 2FA. And I like the answer. So YubiKey, most secure. Again, it's kind of like a hardware wallet, but super, super tiny. It doesn't do crypto stuff by default. It's just the button to press for authentication to make sure it's actually you pressing the button and not your computer that got compromised. And but you do have to buy it. They're pretty reasonable. I think they're probably 20, 30, 40, $50 or so. And then you got Authenticator app. Again, most of these are free. Just generates a one-time password. If you don't have it, like, you should definitely have it on your email. Like, if you don't have this two-factor auth on your email account, like, just that's number one thing to get to do. Like, unless you would just want people reading your email if you click a bad link sometime. Like, that's the thing. Like, you can click a link if you don't have two-factor auth. That is probably the biggest problem that two-factor auth solves, is if there is some bug or vulnerability or exploit. I said exploit. Vulnerability is the security bug itself. The exploit is like the code or a system or whatever that takes advantage of it. If there is some security issue that people can take advantage of with Gmail, with Apple, with whatever login page you're doing with your account stuff, two-factor auth is one of the things that can be the difference between it just them being able to get access to it or stealing your password. Like, they steal your password from it. Think about this: if anyone steals your password for a email, for whatever portal, and you don't have two-factor auth on, then they can log in to your account. If you have two-factor auth on and a strong one, such as the Authenticator app or the physical device, they need that, or they need to somehow steal that. There's other attacks to steal stuff too, but it's a lot harder. A lot of time, a lot more complicated, at least. They can't log in. So it can be the difference between someone hacking your account and someone not. It is that good. And SMS, the reason a lot of people say don't turn on SMS is SIM swap stuff. So again, we can go and you can just Google for that. I'm sure there's plenty of videos and stuff that explain it too. SIM swap stuff, there's like man in the middle type stuff where they can be intercepted. Again, SMS not secure messaging apps. You got Signal, you got Simplex, you got I wouldn't say WhatsApp generally, but it's probably better than a lot of stuff. And it does take cell service to even receive them a lot of times. So verdict, I agree. YubiKey, best. Authenticator app, second best. I would kind of tie these two because they're, one is free and one is not. They both do a great job though. And then, not using SMS. But
yeah, I think I've seen some crazy things with SMS, and not an expert on any of that kind of, like, on any like compromising any of those kind of systems or anything like this. But I think that, yeah, like you were saying, like, there is, like, I think in a perfect world, SMS, it works, right, in a bubble or something like this theoretically, but in practice, I think it is a little bit more insecure than the other options, right? Probably maybe better than nothing, maybe not better than nothing, depending on a few different things. But yeah, I think I've seen some crazy things. Like, I think I've seen some people are able to, kind of like you're saying, like, intercept text messages, intercept phone calls, things like this. You can like make phone calls from a number that isn't yours, or you're kind of impersonating someone else's phone number. Kind of things like this. So yeah, you probably want to have, and I think another thing with Authenticator is you can, I think it's part of it, you can upload it to like the cloud, or you can just have it kind of locally on your kind of phone. At least I think that's how, when I've used it in the past, like, I think that's how it kind of worked out to me. I think having a kind of a local setup is probably more ideal as well when it comes to things like this as well. So I'll say that.
nice. Yeah, and again, when you're using AI, whatever question, ask it to draw you a picture. draw me a picture, show how it works. Sometimes it still kind of sucks at words and stuff. This is actually a lot better than I've seen. But it can draw you diagrams of draw diagram, or let's see, draw flowchart of how Authenticator app works. So use this stuff to give yourself an advantage. This is all that stuff you can do on your own. You don't need to wait till live stream to ask questions and get live interaction on this stuff too. On your own, if you're curious about how something works, use GPT, use the 10,000 other AI apps to do it. So again, it's not super good. It kind of gets too, make simple. See if you can just give me a regular one that's much easier to follow. But yeah, this generates the code. You have the app, generates the code. There's a secret, a bunch of math and crypto and stuff behind that. You say yes or no. Again, a lot of different sites allow you to turn on 2FA with Authenticator apps and stuff when you're in. Again, hardware devices, really good too. But 2FA, extremely important. If you're not doing 2FA today, it is by far the easiest thing you can do. Yeah, the most straightforward, hands-off thing you can do is turn on 2FA if you don't already have it on for all your accounts that you can. Going to go through chat, see if we have any questions in here. Again, we're taking mostly security ones. I see there's maybe a couple crypto ones in there, one or two, but we'll take mostly crypto ones or security ones today. Let's see. I probably can't get scrolling. What's your view on the M chip on Apple? I'm not sure is it in the security context or not. I mean, the M chip is, it's just like the new faster chip, right? Like, what is M chip? Apple and security. I bet they do have some security stuff baked into it. Let's see if we can find this. Yeah, I know it's super fast. I'll say that. They have different versions of it. Yeah, it has a secure. I mean, they've had secure enclave for a while though. Hardware-based encryption. Let's see, security advantage. I'm not going to spell it correctly. Versus prior chips. Let's see if you can tell me that. Secure. So built-in secure enclave. Maybe they had a separate one, I guess. Integrated system on chip is faster. Memory protection. Yeah. Okay. It does protect against some CPU level attack stuff, which is interesting. Rowhammer here. Built-in AES scripture for faster, more secure stuff. Secure boot very fast. I mean, I don't see a huge security leaps here, but it definitely is faster in a lot of ways. I'm sure there's something, but yeah, I won't spend too much time on it, but there's a few things you can go through if you want to take a look.
One thing I will say about the new, I think it's the M4 with the Apple Intelligence. I think Apple's code and Apple's software, I don't think it's open source. So yeah, I think a lot of the things are like, so I think a lot of people try and dissect the devices, and like some of the new features are like they're new. I don't exactly know how everything's going to play out, but I've seen, and we saw Elon Musk as well talk about how he's going to ban those iPhones, I think it's the iPhone 16s that have the AI Apple Intelligence or whatever it is. Because I think he's calling it like a security kind of a security thing. I think.
I was going to say, to their defense, I mean, he said that, but Apple is one of the few companies, they try to go, at least publicly, they seem to try to go out of their way to be more private and more like privacy focused. So like, I think the counter to what he was saying on that would be all I've heard is they're trying to make it on all device, or like make it some like secure network they're going to do it through. So at least publicly they're saying they're trying to make it very privacy focused, but again, you got to trust them. Are they going to do that? What are the incentives and stuff too? But it's interesting how people, famous people, call them out, and they may even try even harder to do, the right thing for privacy and security because the scrutiny like that. So that's like one advantage of actually him or other people coming out and saying that. But I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of privacy stuff once AI gets more integrated and people start using it more. Like I think about, there is this privacy is going to be tricky for it. But Apple seems to be one of the companies, at least, more, I hear them talking more about privacy and like going above and beyond with iPhones and stuff than I've seen a lot of other companies. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I do agree. I think Apple, I think they do have I think a more privacy focused business model. How I think how I look at Apple at least is I think Microsoft and maybe Google will I think they kind of let in third parties to kind of track as well. I think Apple, how I look at their privacy is they don't let as much third party or like kind of external third party kind of trackers into the system. I think a lot of the like if you were to say like non privacy features, I think they're kind of I think they're Apple, like native Apple kind of things. Whereas on like Microsoft, there's probably other softwares that you can install that can track you like crazy that you wouldn't have the same permissions perhaps on a Mac. But what I what I will say with the AIs is I think it's gonna be it's gonna be interesting to see how how balanced privacy and kind of kind of the AI like knowing you and being like the perfect kind of agent as well. Because I think and I don't know where Apple's going. And I think we're gonna talk a little bit about Microsoft because I think Microsoft makes it like completely obvious what they're doing. Like they don't even Microsoft doesn't even try and they don't even try and hide like they will tell you exactly what they're doing. I think like all companies and stuff. But I think
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see how privacy and the kind of tailored AI features will kind of balance with one another. So
Yeah. That's a great segue into recall too. And just how, at least I guess I would rather them be upfront about like we are literally taking snapshots of everything you do on the computer every every few seconds. I'd rather them say that so at least people can reason, like security people can start reasoning about, okay, how does that work? They'll be interested in it. They'll do research. They'll figure out, oh, this is it's insecure because this or that, and I'll search here in a minute and find some recall security stuff while you're talking about it. But at least they're saying like, yeah, this is what we're going to do. This is what we think the future should look like, and now help us secure it, or show us where what we're missing as far as privacy and stuff goes. But yeah, I'll pull up some stuff on if you want to kind of get people an intro onto that. And I don't think Mac. I did a little bit of research before. I don't think Mac has the same thing, at least not yet. And of course, Linux, I'm pretty sure doesn't either. But what do you think? What is recall, and why is it such a big privacy concern?
so I think in crypto, right? And we always talk about your seed phrases. Like you shouldn't take a photo of it. Ideally, you should try and they should be as analog as possible, right? Your seed phrase should be as analog as possible. And I think what makes recall a little bit tricky is I think the idea is it screenshots your screen every 3 seconds or every few seconds. I'm sure it probably has some like logic in there to see like if your screen is changing or whatever. But I think ideally it's trying to capture everything you're doing on your computer, and I think you can have optionality to store it for however long however many days, whether it's 90 days, 180 days, however long, and you can do whatever, right? I think when it comes to recall, when it comes to things like this, you don't want to be documenting your seed phrase, right? If you're doing crypto on your computer, or if you're doing pretty much anything on your computer, right? I think Microsoft's and I think from what I've read, I think Microsoft's kind of idea and kind of the reason why they call it a feature is because supposedly we all forget what we do on our computers, and we'll be able to go and retrace our steps, right, and see what we previously did on like whatever given time. I don't think I really need this, right? And I think another kind of big problem is, and I might have to look into this more, but as I understand, I think the some of the recall software is kind of, I think it's built into every Windows system. Whether or not it's actually snapshotting your like your photos and stuff, I think that's reserved for some higher end kind of like laptops or computers with the AI chips in them. But I think the code for like a lot of this recall stuff is in a lot of all of the Windows 11 systems that are like being updated and stuff. And then I, as I understand, I think it is some sort of dependency for the file explorer to work. So if you want to even if you want to get rid of the code for recall in Windows 11, I think you have like your file explorer stops working. You have to get some sort of third party kind of external file explorer, which I've heard like they aren't the very best, right? And I think like the Windows one is like probably works fine. But yeah, I heard that's what I heard, right? And it's not exactly ideal, especially when we're talking about crypto. Like you want to like we've been talking about privacy and security, um, especially if you don't like if you have a new like, let's say let's put in like context of you buy like a fresh brand new computer and it has Windows on it and like you're in this kind of like maybe you feel like it's secure, right? Because you just got a brand new computer, you know definitely not compromise. But as soon as maybe you don't know it has like something like Windows recall on it, and like you've now screenshotted your seed phrase or documented something that you didn't want to. And I think people have also like they've tested it. I think ideally the recall, it's not supposed to capture sensitive data and information, right? I think ideally it's supposed to, and that kind of also makes you think, right? Like, is it reading your screen to see? And I'm pretty sure it is, right? To see what it's screenshotting, to see like if it should screenshot that or if it's sensitive kind of credit card or private information. But I've seen some people like try and test some of these like sensitive data filters on the Windows recall, and it seems like it's not very. It doesn't seem like it's very effective. Like it seems like there's like somebody coded like completely clear form like enter your credit card information here, right? And then the Windows recall just yeah, perfectly picks up exactly like all their credit card information and stuff. So yeah, ideally with yeah, these new computers like it's all great and stuff. And I think this is just like one part of like Windows, and you talked about as well where like majority of hackers are developing probably they're developing malware for the largest kind of target, right, or the target audience in a way. And if it so happens to be most like I think majority of people in the world are using Windows, right? I don't know the exact figure on that, but I know it is like the majority of computer systems. Maybe not so much in America, but I think probably still in America. But yeah, definitely globally, majority of computer systems are Windows machines. So yeah, if like majority, like Max was saying, majority of malware is written for Windows, and then not only that, there's also Windows itself, which is most likely spying on you, right? Like I think there's a video on YouTube. I wish I brought the link with me or something, but there was a kind of a security analyst who was able to use software called Wireshark to kind of see what what the computer's pinging, right? A brand new Windows 7 system versus a brand new Windows 11 system. And you can see like the Windows 11 system decides to go and ping all these different trackers, all these different websites, all these different things, right? Where like the Windows 7 system, it's a lot more like it's like Microsoft services or Microsoft this, Microsoft that. Like a lot of the things make sense for it, like the computer to be talking to. But yeah, going into kind of Windows 11, you probably I don't know, like people can do whatever they want to do. Like it's a free country, right? You can do literally whatever you want to do. Um, but you probably don't want to be probably don't want to be, especially if you're doing crypto and you have kind of bigger bag sizes, you probably don't want to be doing crypto on a Windows machine. And then also with all that, like not only because it's targeted by hackers, but there's also all that telemetry and all that kind of data being taken from the system. Because as I understand as well, I think things you're like typing into the computer, like there's telemetry of like your clipboard, right? Things like this. Like, and I don't know don't know exactly what you would need for like, I don't know what Microsoft needs to do with all this information, but you can go into your like privacy settings on like a Windows computer right now and see like all the stuff that's there. It's kind of incredible. Like they even have settings for this. Like why do you like this? Yeah, it should just like, you would think it should just automatically be off. So yeah,
Yeah,
Max.
you don't need to be part of that system. You can remove yourself from the system of sucking up all my data and deciding, what they want to use for it or not. Which we'll talk about VPNs here in a minute as well. But this app, have you ever used Shut Up 10, by the way? Ever used this?
I don't think I have.
I think you'd like it. I think you'd like it a lot. Basically, like any Windows
Oh,
system I
okay.
install, it basically gives you an easy button to turn all that stuff off you're talking about. You can disable inventory collector, camera, like you can disable all this different stuff. And so you don't have to manually go through and find each setting and do it yourself and hope that it works. It's really good. I've been using it. I don't use Windows very much these days, but any system I need to use it on or otherwise that I want to have any kind of privacy on, I would definitely, that's one of the first programs I use, Shut Up 10. And it's just like turns all the crapware off. It's or at least most of it. It's really good. So, and it's free too. So, and it supports Windows 11 now. Yay, there you go.
That's awesome.
So
I forget the name. I think I saw there's a lot of like, I think there's a lot of tools like this, and I think some of them get kind of advanced as well. And you probably like, for the average user, I don't think probably needs a super advanced tool for something like this, but exactly like Max showing here, like um yeah, easy flips to kind of disable a lot of that kind of information. Because yeah, like I think I've seen memes where it's like Microsoft should be paying you to use Windows, right? Um, why are you paying for the product key when like you're also the product when you're using Windows, right? Like they're spying on you. So
yeah, it's I was thinking of, oh yeah, this I want to get to. Let me go to, if y'all don't know, I have a blog. Don't write there that much these days. I do a lot of video content instead of long form, but every once in a while, if you go to rhmax.org/blog, I have some hopefully timeless, or at least long lasting security post here too that I use reference from time to time. So I had a comment on CryptoDan. It's how people are getting drained. I'm not sure what this was in reference to, but I like the theme of like connecting to dApps, unsafe wallets, and master trust. So if you want to know all the things that can happen, if I go to a website, will my wallet get drained? No. First of all, it's not directly. That's not how it works. It can, again, if you can do all the stuff and do transactions. But if you want to know, I did a bunch of research a while back to tell you exactly, what can happen and all the different situations and how to avoid it and stuff like that. And even showed you like what does badness look like what does malware look like in the crypto world. A lot of times, it could be signing different messages or doing transactions, approval contracts, honeypots. I talk about that. Different kind of rug pulls, front runner bot type stuff. The different LP things as well. The front end could be compromised. If you remember the curve.fi hack a while back, that had nothing to do with the protocol, had nothing to do with crypto. It was just attack poison DNS records and making the website point to a malicious website where they interact with a malicious dApp instead. A lot of stuff can be avoided if you do. There's one thing in crypto. So the one thing in general security that's the easiest thing to do to help protect yourself is turn in 2FA. That's by far the easiest thing. We can talk about not clicking on links. We can talk about not Googling for stuff. But literally, if you don't have 2FA turned on all your accounts, that's like the easiest thing you possibly do. For the bang for buck. One of the easiest things in crypto to do, but you got to be diligent about it if you do it, is check the contract address that Metamask shows you and compare it with a legitimate contract address on Etherscan, on PulseChain Scan, like whatever they are, and make sure they are the same. You tell I wrote this before PulseChain went live, by the way. So, as I talk about here, it went to a scam page or get a prompt that looks nearly identical to the real contract you interact with. So double check. There's articles and stuff I reference here too. So if you can just check, at least you can check the whole thing. You can check the first 4, the first 8, the last 4, the last 8, like all those things in combination. But make sure you are talking to the legit dApp before you sign the stuff and interact with the new page and all that. And again, you can check the Explorer to see which ones have the green check marks, which ones are the legit ones, and all that stuff too. But a lot of these things can be, the attacks won't work if one, you don't interact with the malicious one and you look for other things. Again, other browser warnings, red boxes, don't proceed, all that stuff. Some of them are false positives, but if you're interacting with a new portal or contract or otherwise, these things can be super helpful. And there's also token sniffer and other websites and stuff too that try to give you a smell test. But yeah, that's like one of the easiest things. If you're just diligent about it, when you connect with a dApp and confirm it is what you actually want to talk to. Otherwise, how do you know what you're talking to? How do you know which app you're doing? And it doesn't need to be this frustrating, like, oh, I don't know, so I don't know, so I'm not going to do it. I'm going to be afraid. I'm going to do FUD, whatever. You can check it. Anyone can do this. Anyone can go and check to see what is a legit contract address and what is the one I'm talking to, and see if they are the same. Very, very basic stuff.
I was also gonna say, I think Rabby Wallet, even if you're able to connect kind of a hardware wallet and then use Rabby as kind of your front end interface, right? Like you're not importing your seed or anything like that, but just using that as your interface to kind of interact with some of the smart contracts. But Rabby will show you the contract address, what you're signing, transaction simulation, have you interacted with the contract before, and then if you're also like sending tokens to like addresses, like it'll get you to add it to your contacts list or like approve it. There's lots of steps, right? I think it's a lot, like definitely probably a little at least a little bit harder to get drained. At least there should be kind of should be more, like there should probably be more warnings and like more steps involved when using Rabby versus Metamask, which I think kind of can also add an extra layer of security for you using Rabby. But again, like know what you're doing, right? I think Rabby is open source, so you can read the code on Rabby and see if that's something you'd want to kind of interact with. Yeah, do your due diligence if you're going to be like importing your seed into any new places. But I think even if you're just using that as kind of a front end with a hardware wallet, like might give you a little bit more security than a MetaMask. Just in terms of how it's telling you like what you're interacting with. So
I think using different wallets is an interesting topic too, where on one hand, I don't like the direction MetaMask is going. Of course, I don't like the gatekeeping stuff. I don't like the privacy concerns. You got to turn a bunch of stuff off. You got to change from Infura to using another node or running your own node and stuff. And if you don't want to get, if you want more privacy and all that stuff. But at the same time, and of course, I like open source stuff. I love auditability. I love being able to look at the code. Everyone else look at the code and figure out if there's bugs or not, and transparency that comes with that. However, I also value things that are battle tested and things that, again, nothing against Rabby Wallet or any other wallets out there that people use. It's kind of this chicken and egg thing. It's like, it's hard to be battle tested if you don't get adoption. It's hard to get adoption if people, prioritize, the brand of and the history of it not having critical issues and stuff like that too. So for me, when I think about, it's really hard for me to move off of a wallet once I start using it, as long as I trust it, or at least trust it to a certain degree, or able to configure it where it's better for privacy or otherwise, because it's kind of like switching banks. Like, in the real world, switching a bank, you may have multiple bank accounts at different banks, but if you're going to put all of your money from one bank to another, I get just the average person profile here. That's like, oh, now I got to get new credit cards. Now I got to make sure they don't screw me over on this. Now I got to, sign up for a new system and all that stuff too. So I think that's the onus, is like, there's certain things that are less risk and less, are they going to maintain it going forward? Like, is the bank going to close? All that stuff too. So it's a hard thing to do. It's a hard position to be in, because I definitely want to see a lot of community wallets out there succeed and get adoption and stuff too. It's just hard to, really, put your money where your mouth is, as far as like, okay, I'm going to switch all my stuff over, and it's just, I don't know, the battle tested brand type of thing. I think is extremely, like, for browsers too, web browsers. Like, if somebody told me, hey, there's this new security focused web browser that will you use it? I'm like, I don't know. Like, is it, again, I like the idea, but the implementation, does it have its new code? Does it have new bugs? Does it, how long has it been out? Like, it kind of reminded me of, I was thinking of Go Real DeFi. By the way, shout out to Go Real DeFi. It's now over 1 year old. Mostly great uptime as far as I remember. Maybe in the early days, there was had to fix a thing or two, but it is one of the things that I haven't heard any applicable argument against, like it being insecure in some way versus any other website out there, all that stuff too. And it is been, again, a frictionless experience to do all these things, verifiable gateways, all that stuff too. Now, in the early days, in the first few months or so, you'd be like, oh, I'm not sure if this thing is secure or not. If it's been over a year and then it becomes 2 years, just like Hex 2, Hex is 5 years old. Over time, it's got to be like, all right, what is the case against this thing being insecure? Either there's nothing valuable there to hack it for, or it's pretty secure. So anyway, that's some kind of thoughts that I use when I'm thinking about some of these things.
Yeah, and I was kind of thinking similar as well. Like that's why I don't, yeah, like I was telling people, like people were getting me onto wrapping. I used it and I think it was great and all. But like Max is saying, it is still new, and I'm like, yeah, I haven't like fully migrated over or anything like that. So yeah, and I will say as well, like in terms of wallets, is probably like in crypto, you probably want not some obscure weird thing nobody's ever heard of and nobody actually uses, right? You probably want like the blue chip. And MetaMask has its downfalls, right, for sure. Um, but it's most battle tested kind of what I think one of the most battle tested kind of browser wallets there. So I think for what that's worth, like there's probably some more security there. I think it'll be interesting to see the RH wallet if or when that ever. I think definitely when that
Ooh.
comes out, because I think yeah, he always comes out, like he always does pretty much what he's kind of talked about and stuff. So yeah, I think that RH wallet would be an interesting one. I like to see how he kind of implements that. So
Yeah, if we ever get RH wallet, I mean, it'll have the same scrutiny too. It's a new thing. It's a new wallet. Of course, a lot of our community will want to switch because we want to support RH. Maybe there's incentives or otherwise. But it's kind of one of those things like, okay, this brand new thing, is it secure? I mean, imagine if I'm going to go with, he's got some real good devs that PulseChain isn't broken. You could go buy a previous record of other tokens, Hex, Hex 5 years running. So you can kind of go buy that stuff too. But yeah, it is audits. We made audits. Was the two things we made famous in this community: MetaMask and audits. Is that right, Colin? At least those two.
yeah, we're probably missing one though.
Yeah,
Uniswap.
founders, holders, and exchanges. Oh yeah. We made famous audits, MetaMask and Uniswap. There you go. Well, yeah, maybe Uniswap instead of MetaMask. More of that. Anyways, I wanted to share this link as well. Privacy for crypto wallet. RPCs, so a couple different, 3 different options primarily for crypto wallets. You can, if you're using Ethereum, by default, it uses Infura. Again, you can read about, type in Infura privacy stuff. You can see what the concerns are. You can watch some amazing content on this stuff too. But if you want to switch to something that isn't Infura, which I think that link is broken, let me try it and see. I think I sent another link. No, actually, it still works. Okay, maybe this is another one. So you can go and look at the checkbox about privacy, and you can read like how they came up with it and all the policy and stuff too. So you can actually switch. And I've got, again, steps of how to add this. I think Crypto Coffee had some, how to post on this and stuff as well. There's more videos out there. So you can actually add another, not use Infura, just add Ethereum 2 or Ethereum, not Infura, whatever network, Ethereum, private or whatever, and add another RPC that's more private than, JP Morgan sniffing your traffic type of thing. Again, I got a video where I explain a little bit more about that. And you can also run your own node. If you're doing a validator, PulseChain validator and stuff, or Ethereum validator or anything else, you can, if you run your own node, you can point it to that, use that. I actually have a script on, let me go to the validator repo. I have a script. I'm not sure how many people use it. I just kind of threw it in there because I'm like, oh, that's, it's not necessarily for you don't need it to set up a validator, but it's one of those, if you wanted to, I was like, oh, I went through the steps. Here's how you can enable the RPC interface, again, locally, securely do this, enable it locally to use your own networks and your own transactions, all that stuff. So that the server, you control the logging, you control the privacy, all that stuff too. So this is a script where you can use it if you have a validator to turn that on and use this stuff as well. So I'll put that in the link too. But yeah, there are more private ways of doing things. And again, we got tons of content and different pieces for that. So you don't have to run your own node. You can go through a selection of like the more privacy focused ones here. So a lot of people out there trying to make decentralization and privacy go well.
Yeah, I remember that was a big thing. I think Metamask does default to the it's like you're saying, to JP Morgan's data collection service. So that's pretty awesome.
Sounds like an acronym, JPDC, DCS or something. Yeah. Again, nobody knows for sure, but again, what are the incentives? Who is running this thing? Who is, you can kind of extrapolate and come up with speculation from there. Or you can just use something else and not even have to think about it. There you go. So I wanted to get into VPNs a little bit too. I think over time I've been I've said before, I don't know why anyone uses a retail VPN. Like, it's one of those, I'll say that, but then I'll kind of explain a little bit too. When I think about VPNs, I think about connecting to another network. You're at work, you're at a coffee shop, you're at whatever. You want to connect to another network so you can access resources. You can, it has a secure tunnel. It's kind of these days it doesn't matter as much because, different browser improvements and things that we didn't have before. But buying a VPN, using it, I think has a very specific purpose. If I want to avoid censorship, if I'm traveling or whatever, if I want to connect to another network, again, internal network securely, another place, or if I want to, if I would just want enhanced privacy, if I want to literally have my IP address change, it look like that's the kind of thing that I think they're morally used for. I think they're a little bit, these days you have them being used for, just a second.
One thing I'll say about VPNs as well is if you're not super like technical, like maybe like it's tricky whether you should use one or not. You can also, like, if you are technical, you can have like a Raspberry Pi or something like this, or an old like kind of laptop, and kind of use that to kind of create your own kind of a VPN service in a way. But yeah, using like I know some of these companies that kind of have VPNs. Like, I don't know about any of the ones listed here, and I'm forgetting the brand name, which is probably better not to recommend it off the top of my head. But I always see it advertised on Twitter, and I think half their business model is like some sort of like data collection, or essentially running ads to you, right? And then they also have a VPN service. So come route all your traffic through our VPN, please and thank you, right? And then maybe they say, there's no logs or something like this, but how do you really know? How can you verify that? We always say don't trust, verify in crypto, right? Blockchain, you can verify all that you can verify everything on the blockchain, right? You can't really verify a lot of these things that's happening on like some of these like private or even like public companies in a way. So yeah,
it is one of the biggest point is privacy they can help you with, but again, what are you doing on the internet that's like, a lot of times it's just kind of like overhead. What are you giving up of them? Oh, we promise we're not going to log your stuff. You don't know, like, what agreement did you sign? Some agreement? Do you have like some contract with them? They aren't going to do that, especially if it's free. Their business model may be directly into, hey, we need to collect data. We need to sell this data in order for this to even make sense. So I think I would say they're not for security. That's the biggest thing I used to poke on before. I was like, they don't do anything for security. I don't know. Again, chat, if you can tell me your idea of how they help for security, and I will discuss it with you, because I don't know why. I don't have any idea of what they do for security. They hide your IP address. That's privacy. Nobody's hacking people's IP address. Like, that's an old thing that routers and NAT and firewalls and stuff kind of got rid of. I don't know what they do for security. They may say they do a bunch of other features, but that sounds like just a bunch of feel-good type of stuff. So for privacy, yes. Security, chat, let me know if you have any ideas. Calling you too. I don't know of anything they do for security, for you, stopping you from getting hacked. That's what security means to me, stopping you from getting hacked, keeping your data safe, whatever. I don't know what they do for that, like at a surface level.
Yeah, and I think like with VPNs and stuff, like I agree with that. Like I maybe there's someone who needs it for some nuanced sort of, technical reason, and they have a use case for like some specific, like something like this. But for the average person, like I think it's meant for if you want to like, access a show in a different region, or if a website is blocked in a specific country. But in terms of like, yeah, like you're saying, security, I don't know if a VPN actually provides that many advantages. So, or any advantages at all. So yeah.
Well, it is. I mean, again, if you don't want your IP address, or you want more privacy on the internet, like whatever it is, like yeah, VPN be used for that. But it's just they take the word secure. Oh, it makes it more secure. They take security and they twist it into a way that just I don't understand. I don't get anything from it. There's nothing security focused about VPNs that I could think of. They encrypt your traffic, but yeah, your traffic's probably already encrypted, through your browser, all these different browser security things, all this upgraded technology we've had over the last decade or so do a lot of the stuff maybe VPNs were useful with before. Kind of like antiviruses. Yeah, you need an antivirus in 1995 or 2005, but we already have one, you have a built into the operating system half the time these days. And on Mac and Linux, you Google for antivirus, what do you have? It's like they've kind of already got a bunch of security features that take care of that. So again, if you're using a VPN for privacy, good for you. Cool. I can see that. It's a great use case. Whatever. If you're using one that's free, I would be very skeptical of it. I don't know how they're making money without, doing some kind of business model. It may involve selling your data. But if you're using it because you feel like it's going to help stop you from having security issues, I can't think of anything for that. I don't know. And I feel like I know a lot about security. I can say that. I can't tell you how that works.
There's probably other things you could do for like security and stuff relative to like I think it's one of those things we're talking about in the beginning of the
These
show
three
where
things.
like yeah, I think
Yes.
that's pretty much sums it up, right? Um and it's like we're talking about at the beginning of the stream with like the antivirus and stuff. It's like maybe you want to feel like you're being more secure. It feels like there's more security, but yeah, like it is. I think it is a privacy tool, and I think people like they have maybe a bit of a misconception with some of the. I think it's the marketing of a lot of these services and stuff. So
Definitely. Yeah. I think I'd be very skeptical if any influencer, I mean, NordVPN's on the list here. I asked about privacy focused ones and it's on here. It's anything that's uh, got a ton of influencers selling it. I'm immediately skeptical of. They could be doing a fine job, but I'm just kind of skeptical of. I would say though, the more interesting ones, or maybe actually the smaller ones, I would, that have less corporate influence, I would be more interested in. Where I would say would be probably more uh, more likely to stick to no logs policy and all this type of stuff. You got Proton VPN. Um, so some of these I feel like they've been talked about a lot. Molvad VPN, renowned for strict privacy measures, doesn't require personal information for account creation. Does all this stuff. So I don't know. I would just do some research. I feel like some of these Proton is probably more interesting than a lot of them too, because they have Proton Mail. They already have an established ethos of being very privacy focused and doing all this stuff. So that may be one to look into. This one, a few others, but anything that's being shielded by influencers, I tend to be very skeptical of, because that to me that signals they have more corporate influence, and more corporate influence means more driven for profits, and that's not what I want my privacy focused product to be incentivized with, type of thing. So just do your research and don't assume. And again, I don't know anything about security for VPNs these days. What improvements they would make, but privacy, all for it.
yeah, like you even said, I think traffic now, HTTPS is encrypted. So, um, yeah, VPNs think good for privacy, not so much good for security. You can also like you could also kind of apply that logic of if you're not paying for something, there might be there might be something behind the scenes that you are kind of paying for in a way, right? Whether it's through data collection or yeah, that lack of privacy or something like this. But yeah, even not like you can have a Gmail, you can use a Gmail, but ideally you probably want to kind of limit what you're kind of doing on a lot of those kind of email and free kind of services and stuff like this. I think Proton might be a little bit like, I think they have a privacy focused business model, and I think you do have to pay for it, which could also show like maybe you are paying for privacy in that sort of sense. But yeah, um, yeah, I'll end it off on that.
Yeah, I'm just trying to form a good question here to be like, I want to ask GPT, I want to see if I'm missing something here too. But anyone use a VPN? Only retail users, no corporate scenarios. Let's see what it says, because a lot of it's like, oh, to connect to the office or whatever. See, it says protect data, public Wi-Fi. I don't encrypt all data. Again, can't enforce it. Yeah, there are lots of security features. I'm not sure I totally agree with that one. ISP snooping, I guess. Again, that's total privacy. Mitigating DNS IP leaks, privacy. Preventing privacy. Security against malware and phishing sites. Access malicious sites, clicking. Again, this is like one of those extra features they do, and I think it's just a throw-in feature. I would not trust them to have to do a really good job there. Maybe there's, I guess, a little bit, but I think Chrome has a bunch of built-in stuff from Google that probably does. I would say it does a good enough job instead of using a VPN for it. Again, privacy. Again, web browsers enforce a lot of this stuff. You have to click in order not to do more secure stuff. All of it's privacy, every single bit of it. There's not a single security thing. And I asked it, why would they use it for security, not just private? Like this one, I don't know. I don't buy that one completely. Let's see, how does VPN specifically protect data on Wi-Fi that a web browser doesn't already do? So you don't need to spell things correctly. It will do it. All right, I'm going to end on this one, or end this topic. CVPN. Yeah, it doesn't extend. Okay, here you go. Browser security doesn't extend to other applications. I would agree with that. I think that some VPNs can try to protect other software that isn't browsers. Maybe there's an edge case for that. That's interesting.
I think that's still privacy. Like if you're able to send a message and get it retrieved or something like this.
But that what it also assumes that the other apps aren't using HTTPS, which why wouldn't they? Like every modern app encrypts traffic these days. So it's very, very small. Again, it doesn't make sense. It's definitely not enough to put me over the edge. So privacy, there you go. All these things it talks about is either browsers already do, or it's already privacy in the first place, or it's it's an extra feature that we got to throw this in because it'll protect people from phishing or something. Google probably already has all of that stuff built into Chrome. So Hex Banger. A good password manager also critical. I like password managers. I say I don't. Password managers, I think that it's hard for me to use cloud-based ones. Personally, I don't like them because you lose your master password in the cloud. They could be phished themselves. They have access. I just don't like putting all my passwords on a web portal, no matter how secure they claim it to be. That just doesn't seem like a good idea. I don't like using cloud backups for a phone or anything really. Like for computer, I don't use cloud backups. I don't like putting my data somewhere else and saying, yeah, it's probably secure because they do a good job. I don't need to. I don't want to do that. There's other ways to do it. You can do it yourself a lot of ways. So yeah, there's a ton of different cloud password stuff. There's also local ones. So where you just, they're not cloud connected. I trend more towards those. But yeah, the password manager itself is generally a good idea, but I don't know. I don't trust the cloud ones. I don't want to. I don't. I just don't want to trust anyone with sensitive data in the cloud. I'll say that. Yeah. Tiny. I have to cover this tiny URL. So I posted links before. I've heard people talk about, oh, don't use short link stuff, and I don't know why, because they're awesome. I really like it. So tiny URL, there's a bunch of different ones, different services stuff. Even Twitter by default, if you see t.co, they are automatically shortening your URL. And I use it for a lot of stuff. You can see like go validate, tinyurl.com/go validate. That'll directly redirect you to the blog, how to be a PulseChain validator. I use it for, PLS onboard. I can't remember the name of it though. Oh, that's for tiny URL. Tiny / PLS validators. No, that one goes to this. Anyways, I use it for onboarding a bunch of different links. All it does is redirect you to another website. So the only argument I've heard about that is, oh, but you can't see the URL, so it could be going to a malicious website. And I'm like, I guess, but then why don't they just do, Microsoft.com? Why don't they just send me to Microsoft.com, and just misspell that? Like, why don't they trick me into going to it a million other ways other than using a URL shortener? If you're going to a malicious website, you're going to go there regardless. So why, and again, if you go to a malicious website, your wallet doesn't get drained immediately. Like in a common configuration and setup, unless you got something weird, special thing going on, you have to actually click buttons to get your wallet, transactions to go through. Or if you have a hardware wallet, you have to click physical buttons and stuff, right? So what attack is there? All it does is, even if it took me to some malicious website, you could do that 100 different ways. You could do it by registering, like a bad actor could register a weird domain. It could be like PulseChain with 2 eyes, all that stuff too. And just that could be the malicious website. So I don't, it's a feature. It's like, oh, this feature of the internet I don't want to use because it could go to a malicious website, when there's other features of the internet that could take me to malicious websites too. I don't really get it. I think the usefulness of this is way beyond what it could be used for malicious purposes. So, and if it really is, if you are concerned about is this thing malicious or not, go to Virustotal. I talked about this a bunch of times too. Go to virustotal.com, paste in the link, upload the file or whatever, give it the URL, give it tinyurl.com/go validate, for example. See if anyone else has reported it as being malicious. Let them scan it with all the antiviruses. Let them do all this stuff. So it's great. Virustotal, before you run, oh my gosh, it says it's phishing. I mean, okay. Take this with a grain of salt too, apparently, because obviously there's nothing malicious. It's saying malicious phishing it'll scan like 100 different antiviruses and give you. So maybe, I don't know, maybe I would say go by if like 10 or more say it's bad. Maybe take a second look. If 1 or 2 say it's bad, maybe a false positive. But anyways, you can give it websites. If you download some file, before you run any file that you don't absolutely know secure and you haven't checked the timestamp or whatever on, you can give it a file, upload it. It'll tell you, based on the antiviruses, based on the crowdsourced research and stuff, anyone's reported it as being malicious. So yeah, there are tools at your disposal, but the whole short links thing of being malicious, I don't know how that's. I think it's a great feature to use, and it can be abused so many other different ways.
Another thing with Virustotal, I don't know if it's like this on this particular site, but I know a lot of the kind of malware file scanning sites, they have like a limit. I can't remember exactly what the limit is off the top of my head, but sometimes there is a limit for like how, like, you can't throw like a 10 gigabyte file in there and say, hey, is there malware in this? Like, I think it would let you do that on the internet. So also say if you have larger files, try and do what you can to, like, especially if they're not from like a so-called trustworthy source, like just go into the properties and see if it's trying to deceive you in any way, shape, or form, right? Because you could probably do, if you don't have to be super technical, but you could probably do kind of like at least a little bit of analysis and just see like if something's trying to like hide as a PDF, but it's an executable or something like this. Like that's probably not something you want to interact with. So
yeah, Also in the VPNs, apparently Hex GBanger has experience with Molvad. Also talk about stacking VPNs, which I'm not sure about that, but Tor. I mean, that everyone's like, oh, what do you? If you don't use VPNs for privacy, what else can you use? Tor. Tor is you can do. I mean, I'm not sure Metamask supports Tor, so it may not be good for crypto, but Tor, you can just use proxy servers. I've got content about just using like a good old fashioned proxy server, which is basically, it's different technology than VPNs, but it will route you through another server, so protects your address and all that stuff too. Have you heard of decentralized P2P networks like Utopia? I haven't. I feel like I've heard it from you or someone else before, but I don't know of the P2P networks like Utopia. I haven't when it searched into them yet. Also, Graphene OS. I've heard a lot of people talk about Graphene OS. Point. I've never used it. I don't think I've never set up I don't know. I think the security focused ones, maybe for a phone, it makes more sense in a lot of ways. You're not using the stock Google stuff because it's the privacy, and they may have all those feature turned on, kind of like Windows type stuff. Again, some of that you can turn off, some that you can't. But using a security focused, like I think it's Android. It's like an Android Graphene OS.
I think it's one of those like open source phone OSs. Like people will throw them on like pixels and stuff. I think like the argument is like you're saying, like Google, I think they can and they will and they have tracked you. I think there was like the incident like at the Capitol or whatever. I think Google was able to like provide a lot of data from people's phones that were over there to kind of I don't know whether it's pass it on to law enforcement, or if they were, I think some of the people got in trouble for having Google phones, long story short. But having like something like Graphene OS, it's like, I think it's more like, I think it's more privacy and security focused in the sense, like I think they call it like a de-Googled phone, without any of those like, you can have Google services, but they're not always running 100% of the time 24/7. So
gotcha. Yeah, do you want to talk about the hardware wallets? A little bit hardware code wallets. Get into that.
You also wanna you could pull up that Reddit and kind of if that's something as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, what I will say is, in terms of wallets, I think your biggest vulnerability is probably yourself, right? So interacting with bad dApps, connecting to bad dApps and interacting with them, going to phishing sites, right? Giving someone your seed phrase for whatever reason. Maybe you have a seed phrase stored on your system and that your system's compromised because you did whatever. But I think majority of the people that have gone trained probably in the past, I think it's more than likely a user error, right? I think especially if you're using a hardware wallet, you can't really there's no the software can't really make any mistakes there, right? So I think in terms of like wallets and security and privacy, I think a hardware wallet is good if you want to have that extra layer. But again, it's only like if you're gonna buy a hardware wallet and then connect and interact with some bad hex smart contracts from a phishing site that you thought was the real thing, like a hardware wallet's not really going to help you with that, right? But if like, I don't know, if someone, or like, yeah, if you have interacted with a dApp before and like it tries to like spawn like or send a transaction through your wallet or something like this, like you will have to, or someone will have to have that seed phrase and that physical device to kind of sign it, rather than like, yeah, I think like in terms of a hardware wallet, it's probably a little bit more secure. But I think majority of that security is just going to lie onto the user, right? You could probably have a MetaMask software wallet that's more secure than a hardware wallet in a sense, or in a way, right? Depending on how you're using it and how you're interacting with it and how you're kind of yeah, exactly, how you're using it, right? So just, yeah, I think hardware wallets is like, it's a good rule of thumb. You probably want a Trezor. Yeah, you probably want a Trezor. You probably also don't want to be the first person to buy a new hardware wallet that comes out, right? Be, Like, oh, let me buy this new one. Even some of the new Trezors, I'm not going to be the first person to buy the new Trezor. I can tell you that much, right? I'll pick up the oldest ones, the ones that we know work, the ones that we know like are that have been battle tested, right? I think the Trezors have been battle tested, and they have had bugs in the past, right? And they have patched them with security updates and stuff. So, nothing's flawless, nothing's perfect. But what I will say with kind of hardware and software wallets is I think most of that security um, it's gonna lie onto the end user and just making sure that like you're not bookmark your apps, and then even if like Rabbit Wallet might not be the best thing in the entire world, but at the very least, looking at the smart contract you're interacting with in it takes extra steps, right? Because you actually have to verify it, right? So it does take extra steps, but yeah, the more and more your bag size increases, you probably want to make sure you're taking those extra precautions, right? You don't want to be doing crypto while you're tired, kind of like free flowing, because I think that's how a lot of people make mistakes, right? Is they're like tired, or they're drunk, or they're this or they're that, whatever the thing is, and you might make a mistake, right? And you don't want to do that. So
Yeah, I mean, again, 2FA on your money. If you put 2FA on your email, you don't want people getting your email. You don't want people getting your money. I mean, we have hardware devices for that, and that are again they don't make it's not about, they're not one for everything. You still you still need to not click on links or like malicious link. Still try not to click on links. Don't Google for a bridge website. Try not to, if you can move away from a less targeted OS. All these other things we talked about too. They don't do everything, but they certainly help a lot with, they're for the scenario of, I don't know, and I don't trust my computer hasn't been compromised, or that it never will be. So I'm going to make it very hard to send money by using a physical device instead of just, something that anyone can do once they compromise a computer. And I want to make sure my seed words doesn't get stolen by generating in a secure device instead of on the computer. So just make sure you know what they do and how they work. Corey Reed, I think you asked a question earlier on how to see Ethereum and PulseChain address and stuff. I did some content with Ben Dubard. If you go to, if you just type in, if you just search RHMax, I don't know, just do RHMax Ledger. Yeah, talk about the crypto wallet compromise. I remember that happened a while back. If you go to here and Ledger hardware wallet on PulseChain, just go here to RHMax Ledger, RHMax hardware wallet, whatever, and it will talk about PulseChain and all the nuance and stuff like that. I should answer hopefully any of your questions. I did want to pull up, we wrap up here in a minute. This one I thought was a really interesting thread too. So from American Huddle, Bitcoiner pleading with scammers stole his money, bro. This is a conversation about, again, don't want to get in these situations, don't want to get money stolen and try to, do all this stuff. I like this advice though. I like it. It's very simple, very straightforward. Don't answer the phone, especially if someone's trying to talk to you about crypto and that you don't know. Or even if you do them, they could be trying to impersonate. So just be, verify people you're talking to face to face is great a lot of times too. Or ask somebody. I use this trick on whatever social network, Twitter, Telegram, whatever. If someone's trying to message you on Telegram and trying to ask you for something or do something that you think, it's a little strange, like, hey, can you, video call me? Or hey, can you send me a message on Twitter? Like, try to, because if someone is compromised or you're talking to a scammer or some other account, they're probably not going to have access to all the other person's accounts too. They're probably just going to try to trick you on that platform. So get a two-factor verification of who you're talking to before you proceed and stuff like that too, because there can be some very convincing scammers. I've almost been convinced a couple of times, and I know exactly what to look for. But it's I've used the trick of, hey, message me on this other platform to make sure it's you. So YubiKey, your email account, again, physical hardware wallets, authenticator otherwise. I think maybe they prefer hardware over Google Authenticator. I think they're both both serve a purpose. Keep your Bitcoin offline cold storage. Again, that's taking precautions there with your seed words and stuff. Never take a picture of your seed, and trust no one. So anyways, a few of those I thought were interesting. Again, this real life stuff happens to people, and you can prevent it again by being vigilant about this stuff.
Yeah, and I think like if someone's messaging you first, especially if it's about something to do with crypto, probably a scam, right? Like I would say your first reaction should be this is a scam, and then see if there's a reason why. Like maybe it's a legit person, right? But yeah, your instincts should be scam. Like uh, Telegram, I think that's yeah. Like be very careful. And like Max is saying, like even if it's a legit account or a seemingly legit account, it can be corrupted, right? And that's a very good point. Like it actually like you can like I think it happens to people even on like emails or other platforms or like just in general, right? Where you have someone who's impersonating someone you know, and they'll ask you like, hey, like this is just as an example, hey, I went into some hard times. I really could use some money, blah blah blah. And maybe you think you're talking to an old friend, but you're not, right? So yeah, just be sure video call. Can you also message me here, right? Type of thing. And yeah, make sure you're not like don't click links from anyone who's like, of course, like it's probably like I think a good rule of thumb is probably just not to click links from anyone on Telegram, right? Especially if it's in public groups, especially if someone's reaching out to you first for some reason, like, hey, check this out, right? And they send you something for some reason, like definitely a good idea not to click on that link. Definitely a good idea not to probably not to check it out, right? And you really question like if you're receiving a message, question like why am I like why? Um, is there a reason why? Like did I win a contest? Like am I a lottery winner? Am I like are you missing something or like is it like is there a chance it could be a scam or something like this? So yeah, just be very vigilant is what I'll say.
I'll say, and also the other side is like I don't like to see people just shouting other people down or like all this drama created from someone sharing a link. Again, just an example, like again, I use tinyurl.com for short links because I think it's a nicer link and easy to remember, and you can put it on stuff and give it to people instead of a crazy YouTube playlist link, which is like 100, 200 characters long. So if you think something's insecure, you think it's a scam or whatever, can you provide some sort of like data or research? And I just don't like to see people yelling scam on something when a lot of stuff is legitimate, and it was especially if it's coming from like legit people in the community that have been around for a while and all that stuff too. You know, it's the I think you can have both ideals in your head. You can be like, okay, don't trust anyone, be vigilant, don't click links. And at the same time, you can be like, okay, let me do a little bit of verification, and not just create like, not add to the chaos or fuel or all that stuff of people actually trying to share things that are helpful and creating accidentally or intentionally creating FUD around these things too. So yeah, it's if you don't know, then you can ask questions, but I don't know. I think having both of those is helpful for the community. I know nobody wants to see anyone else get scammed, but also you don't want to discourage people from sharing good information and interacting and engaging too. So I would say just be nice, be gentle, be vigilant, but yeah, I think there's plenty of love to go around the community too. Not talking about any particular events or anything happen, just in general. I've seen it like people like, oh, there's different circumstances. I'm like, is there anything to it, or is it just your intuition, which could be right or wrong.
It's a good point, right? Yeah, don't. I think I might have said it, but yeah, maybe you don't have to throw everything away at face value, right? Definitely try and at the very least try and verify, kind of what if it's in context of like a message or something like who you're talking to or what you're interacting with, right? In terms of like smart contracts or like new protocols, new websites. Yeah, you know, it's probably yeah, you're right. It's probably not the best, especially like if you're being like public on Twitter. Like it's probably not the best idea to just like start posting like, hey, scam, 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 like pointing your fingers and stuff. But yeah, definitely, I will say it's definitely still like I wouldn't personally I wouldn't like I would be skeptical, and I would Like I would do my research, and I would I wouldn't throw something out immediately, but I wouldn't like I'm not gonna be the first person to connect my wallet or download some whatever thing. So yeah.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Before we wrap up, like what didn't we cover? Like I feel like we went in a lot of different areas of security, privacy. Is there anything we didn't cover that you want to bring up before we call it a day?
I think I got most of the topics out. I think kind of key takeaways for anyone. Maybe you just joined the stream. Maybe you've been watching the stream for a while. But I think key takeaways would just be like make sure you kind of know kind of on kind of the back end. Maybe like what some of the softwares like you're interacting with, right? When we're talking about like even if it's dApps or when you're talking about your operating system itself, right? Make sure you kind of are understanding of your like the privacy limitations or uh like kind of ethos of whatever system you're using or like any security kind of concerns or anything like that. And I'll say as well, just like be sure like make sure like yeah make sure you're using a good browser, make sure you're probably using a good operating system, make sure you're using like you probably want to have like physical security to some of your crypto devices, right? Like they want to be not only digitally secure but also physically secure as well. Um, and then and yeah, like you don't have to switch to you don't have to if you're using Windows you don't have to like turn off or like yeah delete your entire system, shut off your hard drive, throw it in the microwave, call it a day. But you could just slowly kind of try and see like if you want to even if you're just doing like some simple things on Linux, just try it out. Kind of yeah, kind of take some of your privacy back. But like I think your tweet was pretty much perfect. Was like try and stop using Windows for your pretty much everyday life, like your day-to-day computer needs. Windows like you I don't know. I would limit your use to like you could think of it as like a public kind of computer, right? That's how I would look at like my personal Windows machine. Is like would I do this on a library computer? Like would you log into your online banking on your or would you do crypto transactions on your like public library computer? Probably not.
Shivers.
Yeah, right. You probably wouldn't want to do that on and I'm not telling anyone what to do, but you probably wouldn't want to do that on your like personal Windows system either. But that's just me kind of speaking. That's kind of my opinion a little bit. But um, yeah, kind of
Yeah.
your tweet was perfect. Like use Authenticator, don't use Windows, and just make sure you have your links bookmarked and stuff. Because yeah, like you don't want to be interacting with any like phishing sites or anything. So
Yeah. And again, just wrap up. You just got here, go.realdefi.com. There's plenty of security links here. Go down here, click privacy. It'll take you to the privacy playlist. 11 videos there. A lot of interesting stuff. Talk about OPSEC. A lot of stuff we didn't even cover here. We cover in there as well. Click security. Let's see how many videos. Only 64 videos. Did a whole week security AMAs. Went through a ton of different stuff. Elaborated on stuff here and otherwise. And if you want to verify security of GoRealDefi, click verify hash. Click this button. It'll take you here. And you can see how the security works for this website and how you can verify that it's all the official apps, gateway, secure, verifiable gateway to all the official apps as well. So got videos, got content, got all the stuff on GoRealDefi if you're interested as well. But no shortage of information. You got all the stuff. You got, my channel, a lot of other channels do a lot of privacy stuff too. So stay secure out there. Please don't lose money. I wish you all the maddest of gains and keeping those mad gains. And hopefully we'll win hard 2025. Hopefully so. Colin, where can people find you and more about your stuff?
yeah, you can find me on Twitter and YouTube at CryptoKong145. Also, see, I got a website. Look into pdgc.com. There's also there's a few things that kind of apply to kind of overall RH ecosystem as well. Like there's a moon math calculator on there if you guys want to try it out as well. Yeah, look into pdgc.com/moon math if you want to find that. But yeah, that's pretty much where people could find me at. I think it was a good, I think it was a great stream. We covered a lot of good topics. Maybe there'll be a part 2 one day. But yeah, guys, like definitely make sure to stay secure. Kind of value your privacy and make sure that make sure you know what you're doing when you're interacting with whatever software or Yeah. So
Yep. No Googling links. Googling for bridges and stuff. The scammers can outpay the official websites to get listed and make you click on the wrong thing. So if you see that, yeah, just do not Google for stuff, bookmark things, and it'll be a lot easier. So anyways, everyone, that's all we got for you today. Sci-Vibe and 5555. We are out.